Welcome back to Draft Genius, and in this video we're going to take a look at Jaylen Waddle, wide receiver out of Alabama. Let's start with some measurables. First of all, 5'10", listed at 5'10", weighing 182 pounds. So not bad, not too much different than your typical NFL receiver. Based on my eye test, he looks pretty solid athlete, pretty good looking athlete. I prefer bigger receivers, 6'2" plus, those types of body types, but I don't think Jaylen Waddle's size is going to be an issue at all. But of course, somebody out there in the media will make a stink out of it, which I don't agree with. Somebody's going to do it eventually, but overall, good looking athlete, on the smaller side, but nothing too crazy. Over the course of his career, Jaylen Waddle has been very productive. It's been pretty much consistent, pretty much a producer for that Alabama offense for the entirety of his career. Came out, had a really good freshman season, 45 catches, 848 yards, 7 touchdowns out of the gate. As a freshman, that tells me he was ready to go from day one. Sophomore year, took a bit of a step back, but there was a lot of talent at Alabama, at receiver in particular. So, I mean, there's only so much the ball can go around. And he finished that sophomore season with 33 catches, 560 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Now, this past season, his junior season, guys like Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, they were gone. It was really the Devontae Smith and Jaylen Waddle show. And Jaylen Waddle came out on fire. He only played 4 games, but in those 4 games, he was one of the most explosive players in the country. Had 28 catches for 598 yards and 4 touchdowns, and that was in 4 games before he broke his ankle. So like I said, very explosive, was averaging 21 yards per catch this past season. So that's tremendous. That's explosive. That's electrifying. That's whatever word you want to attach to what Jaylen Waddle was able to go out there and do. Jaylen Waddle, he was just flat out dominant in those 4 games, and unfortunately, an injury pretty much ended his season and his college football career. As far as his accomplishments, SEC Freshman of the Year, like I mentioned, came out of the gate in his first year and was productive, was rewarded for that. He was also Special Teams Player of the Year in the SEC, special teams value, returns, punts, and kicks, things like that. First team All-SEC player, All-Conference player the past couple seasons. So he's played a pretty decent amount of football and has been productive doing so in his time at Alabama. So let's move on to the film and talk about what Jaylen Waddle gives you out there on the field. First of all, versatility. Jaylen Waddle is the type of player that was used in a lot of different positions and can be utilized in a lot of different positions on an offense. He can line up in the backfield and take a carry or two. Does that on film. He can line up in the slot and win against anybody you throw at him. He can win against any linebacker, any corner, any safety, whoever you want to throw out there at him. He's got enough talent to go out there and win against those guys. Alabama moved him around a lot. I put him in motion a lot. Got him attacking the line of scrimmage with speed. Really putting him in positions where he was able to utilize, which was probably his best asset, and that's his just overall speed and explosive ability. Just an electrifying player, man, electrifying. And he's been that type of guy throughout his career. I believe for his career, he's averaging 19 yards per catch. So that's tremendous numbers. He's the type of guy that can take the top off of a defense and really has the explosive playmaking ability to be a threat to score on every single play. So he's just that type of guy. When he gets the ball in his hands, he's very dangerous after the catch. Like I mentioned before, the speed is undeniable. You can't deny that speed. It stands out on film. He runs by guys consistently, and whenever he has the ball in his hands, he's going to be very dangerous, and he's going to be a threat to take it the distance at all times. He can make anybody miss out there. He's very shifty when he has the ball in his hands as well. Smooth route runner, and most importantly, once again, I'm harping on this, but I think it's very important. He has the speed. He has the quickness, he has the creativity, and he has that feel as far as route running goes. And overall, he's just a tremendous athlete. So he may not have run every route on the route tree. And, people talk about that a lot, and I hate hearing that because the route tree ain't but so big anyway. There's only certain routes that you can run, and everything else is just a variation of the most simple routes that any receiver can run at any level. So, but Jaylen Waddle, he can run all those routes. He has that ability to do all of that, and I don't think any of that is going to be an issue for him. Another thing that really stood out about Jaylen Waddle is his ability to make tough catches on film, and he did that a lot of contested catches, a lot of, going up, jumping over two guys and still finding a way to come down with the ball. He attacks the ball very well in there, especially for a guy that's on the smaller side. Like I said, he's not a 6'2", 6'3" type of guy. He's 5'10", 6 feet. He's that type of body type. So to see him go up and attack the ball the way he does is really, really impressive. And we're going to hear this comparison a lot. We're going to hear him compared to Tyreek Hill, and I think he is that type of player. He's that type of athlete at his absolute best. And I don't think it's unrealistic. I don't think it's an issue to compare Jaylen Waddle to a guy like Tyreek Hill, because he clearly has that type of skill set. And if he's utilized in the right way, he can clearly have that type of impact. So tremendous skill set. Like I said, he's very similar to Henry Ruggs III. Coming out last year out of Alabama. So really comparable skill set, being a guy that constantly puts the defense in fear. Ruggs was that last year, and I think Jaylen Waddle was the same thing this past season for Alabama before he went down. Before that injury, he was really dominating. As I mentioned before, had tremendous numbers, averaging 21 yards a catch, just undeniable talent out there, and was really doing his thing before he got hurt. But he came back in the national championship game after missing the rest of the regular season. Came back in the national championship game, and I applaud him for doing that, even though I do think it was pointless. I disagree with that. I would not have done that. I get why he did it, but like I said, really pointless to do that, and we saw why in the game, because he made one catch and he was limping after that catch, and I don't want to see guys hurt. But I do think he put himself at risk a little bit, just to go out there and not really do much. Also, Alabama didn't really need him in that game. They handled Ohio State very well, pretty easily, won that game. So they didn't need Jaylen Waddle to go out there and play. So I applaud the toughness. I respect it. But, hey, you don't have to do that. You got a bright future. Got to worry about that. So I do worry about lower body injuries, knees, ankles, things like that when it comes to receivers, DBs, and backs. That'll be something we'll have to monitor. I'm not sure about the lingering effects of a broken ankle, but he broke his ankle, and that's something. And that's a part of his body that is going to be utilized a lot as a receiver. So I think it is important to keep an eye on that as Jaylen Waddle transitions to the next level. As far as who I'd compare him to, I do think he's a Tyreek Hill type of player. And people are going to be upset about that. Tyreek Hill is one of the most explosive players in the league. How can you compare him to Tyreek Hill? Well, I mean, I can look at film. I see what's going on out there. And when I see Jaylen Waddle, he has that skill set that Tyreek Hill has. He's explosive. He can run. He can take the top off of a defense and really present issues out there on the field. If you can't see that, and if you can't admit that, then I don't know what you're looking at. Now, that's not to say he's going to be Tyreek Hill. That's not to say he's going to go out there and immediately step on the field and be able to give you what Tyreek Hill does. But the skill set is there, and I don't think acknowledging that is an issue. Now, if you want to get offended by that, then I can compare him to somebody else. I can compare him to a couple other guys. Maybe a Brandon Cooks, even though Brandon Cooks has had a really good career, and he also won the Biletnikoff Award. Really good player, but I can see Jaylen Waddle as a Brandon Cooks type of player. Another guy, Mecole Hardman, came out a couple years ago, plays out in Kansas City. Similar style as well. So really a lot of guys that are in that mold in the NFL that you can compare Jaylen Waddle to. As far as where I think he's going to go, I do think he could be the first receiver taken. I think a team could jump up and snag him like they did with Henry Ruggs last season. Nobody really expected Ruggs to be the first receiver taken, but he was. I can see the same thing happening this season or in this draft. Even though I wouldn't take him as the first receiver, some people do think he is the best guy coming out, and had he played most of the season, he would have proven that. I don't agree with that. I think he'll be a late first rounder realistically. I don't think he's better than Devontae Smith. I don't think he's better than Jamar Chase. So it's really going to come down to need after that, and what teams need that type of receiver. So similar to how a guy like Justin Jefferson dropped down to, I think he was picked in the 20s, similar to how he dropped is also something that can happen for Jaylen Waddle. So things can go a lot of different ways. Like I said, I don't think he's the best receiver in this draft, but I do think he has a skill set that is always going to be valuable, and he's always going to be a valuable player as long as he can go out there and stay healthy.